Welcome to episode 2 of Elite Revenue Management mini-series. This week we're tackling ancillary revenues with a simple step-by-step plan to create a 360-degree strategy and fast. We heard Nigel say last week that the first step in his radical 5 million fishing upstream strategy was a mindset shift. A shift to being a profit manager and not a revenue manager, where soft skills are your best friend to deal with what he called war. Well, the same could be said about an ancillary revenue strategy. We all know the value and the potential profit lift of a robust ancillary revenue strategy, yet it's estimated that more than 90% of hotels still don't have a formal strategy in place. Is it a knowledge gap? Is it time? Is it the fear of having to convince your colleagues, directors, or owners to implement? Well, today we've got Carl Schmittner with us from Upsell Guru to give you the tools and the 4-step plan for doing just that. And it's easier than you might think. Carl, aka the postman, known for delivering, has been doing ancillary revenue for almost a decade. Anything the postman doesn't know about upselling isn't worth knowing. He's the voice of authority in this space, the grand master of the 360-degree approach, the guru of the upselling world. Carl Schmittner, welcome to where the elite revenue managers hang out.
Thank you very much, Rob. I'm all blush now, and haven't heard the postman in a long time. So thanks for bringing that up. I hope not many people will call me the postman in the future, expecting me to deliver.
It's going to stick.
Amazon packages.
Well, I'm surprised that's not on your LinkedIn profile, Carl, in inverted brackets, the postman Schmittner. Maybe something to do after this episode.
Maybe.
Listen,
Let me think
we're here to talk about upselling, an ancillary revenue strategy, a killer ancillary revenue strategy. So coming from the guru of the upselling world, what is the first step to setting or creating a killer upselling strategy?
Good question, Rob. I think that the first thing at all is you need to know your own product, right? So you need to know, what do I have to upsell? So if we take a hotel, then most hotels have like different room categories, and what we recommend is really like visit each of them and take notes on what is the benefits of each room category, not the features. I think this is where most hotels are focusing on, like what is the feature of a room category, but not really like what is the benefit to the guests. Because at the end, if you want to be successful, you need to sell benefits and not features. So this is what I.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah. So this is what I recommend as a really like first step. And if you ask yourself, like when booking your last hotel rooms and you looked like for their various room categories, you might have noticed that a lot of descriptions are still too much on features, right? Like iron boards, hairdryer. No one will go for a higher room category because there is an iron board or there is a hairdryer in that. Probably you also have that, in your standard rooms, right? But it's still like we see that hoteliers are still too much focusing on the features of the rooms rather than really like trying to create an experience and really underline like the true benefits of that room type.
Yeah, I mean, in the marketing world, we always say sell the emotion of the room, and I guess a mirror and an ironing board and a hairdryer. Maybe someone might have an emotional connection to that, but they're probably going to have a more emotional connection to a spa in the room or an incredible view of the ocean. I guess that's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes you check into a hotel and you walk into the room and you see that amazing view, and it's not written anywhere, right? You weren't even aware of it. So like this is what I think you named it. Focus on try to sell emotion. That's also what we recommend.
Yeah. So step one is getting those room category selling scripts, or getting that really clear in your mind about what's the what's the benefits of that. I guess ancillary revenues beyond the bedroom upgrades. What's if you don't have a lot of upselling items in your hotel, you only have a breakfast restaurant or something like that. Are there other things that hotels could do to define upsells outside of bedroom categories?
Yeah, so there are tons of things that can be upsold. Even hotels that maybe don't have too many outlets, maybe just offer breakfast, as you mentioned. Like, to start really simple, early check-in, late checkout. It's a very, very simple one, and very well accepted. It's with us probably from like additional services, probably the second most popular after F&B items. Right, it's just so convenient. You are arriving somewhere for a meeting, arriving early. You just want to have the convenience and the security that you can check into your room earlier than at 2 or 3 p.m., whatever the check-in time is of the hotel.
Yeah.
So this is a no-brainer, and especially if you think of it about early check-in, late checkouts, the beauty of it is that there is no additional cost, right? Like, the room has already been cleaned. So it has such a high profit flow through rate, which for us is like an absolute no-brainer. Why not to offer it?
Yeah, it's funny you say it's a no-brainer. You're absolutely spot on. It is, but I mean, I'm staying in hotels very regularly for my speaking business, and I can tell you, I've never ever in my entire travels around the US been offered an early check-in or a late checkout. Why is that?
Have you another question? Have you ever been offered a room upgrade on your travels?
Except for when you make the reservation, no.
Yeah, same with me. So I think what you said at the beginning, that 90% of hotels don't have an upsell strategy. You can really relate that by your own travel experience, right? And if you look back at like all the travels that you made, you walk into a hotel, and I'm always waiting for it, right? To see, like, will they offer me something? But in, I would say, 99% of my travel is like it doesn't happen, unless it's one of our customers, and then. But yeah, I really think like it's the space of upselling is very underestimated.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there is a lot of education missing on like what is the benefits of upselling? Why should you upsell? What is the impact of an upselling to the hotel, but also to the guests? I mean, we just talked about the profits flow through rate, right? It's the easiest way to generate additional revenue. It's way easier to sell something to an existing customer than to win a new customer. And from a guest perspective, right? It's like it's the worst thing that can happen is you walk out of the door of a hotel and then you get aware of services that you weren't aware of, and no one told you about, or maybe you have certain needs to a hotel stay. You're there for your speaking engagements or anything, like, as you mentioned, you probably want to prepare something. So probably you want a better room where you can work. You can maybe record something, right? So I think that's where the hotel and hotel staff really needs to identify, like, what is the needs of the guest and how can we match those needs with the products that I have to offer.
Yeah, and that product list, even if you are an economy hotel with a breakfast room, there's still plenty that can be implemented. So first step is defining your upsells and getting clear about what they are and what the benefits are. We touched on something just before. You asked me, had I been offered, and I said the only touch point that I've ever been offered a upgrade is just in the reservation process. So when we're talking about an ancillary revenue strategy, it's got to go beyond the reservation process, right?
Absolutely. I think for us, like, it's critical that you really take the entire guest journey. So booking, pre-arrival, in-stay, and post-stay. And in all of those stages, you can upsell to the guest, right? On the booking stage, what you need to be aware is like you don't want to overwhelm the guest with too many offerings.
Yeah.
Right. If you already take a hotel with, let's say, 5 room types, then you have a flexible, non-refundable rate. So it's already 10 different products basically. Then probably with breakfast, room only, right? So it keeps adding up. So you should really look at what you have to offer and where in the guest journey do you want to place it. At the booking stage, you don't want to overwhelm. Like this will go against your conversion if you just offer too many things, right? So you want to pick some items and probably put it more in the pre-arrival. Also, during the booking phase, most guests are like very, very price sensitive, right? So, okay, I just need a room. Probably I don't need breakfast. I can go to the bakery next door. But then after you made the booking, you already forget about what you spent on it, right? So the pre-arrival is a really good phase to offer additional like room categories because you don't see the full amount. It's just like the add-on amounts that you're adding to it. You just see like the supplement amount. And you are already like in your packing phase, like you're mentally preparing for your trip. So this is a really good spot to place additional offerings that you have.
Yeah, it's a good point, isn't it? Because you kind of just want to get people through the process. And you mentioned you've got all those touch points, on arrival, pre-arrival, on arrival, during stay. I guess somebody might say, well, this frustrates me more than anything, but somebody might say, for my brand, I don't want to be a pushy sales brand. It doesn't have to be that way, right?
No, absolutely not. And I think I see it more as a valuation of the guest, because you are trying to make the stay of the guest as comfortable as possible, right? And you want to know their needs, and you want to match their needs. So if you I think it's always like how you communicate to the guests. If you want to be pushy or not pushy, we work with many like 5-star luxury hotels where we don't see pushy at all. I think it's always like the guest is in the center of everything. It's all about like enhancing the guest experience. And we talked about booking and pre-arrival, but one very critical touch point is that at the on arrival, there is where if the staff is trained, they can really detect like why is the guest here, what is their needs, and then based on the various room types or the items that they have in the hotel, like really recommend what is the best for the guest. So it's really like about increasing guest satisfaction at the end of the day.
Yeah, and you just touched on a point that segues nicely into step 3 of your 4-step plan, which is around training. So, if somebody is thinking about this and they're like, I don't want to be too pushy on sales, I don't want to seem like a sales company and all this kind of stuff, where do they start for the training process, and how do they find out what is the best way to do this at front desk and in stay?
Yeah. So when we look at the entire guest journey and we implement an upsell strategy, right, and we look from again to the stages of booking, pre-arrival, on arrival, in stay, and post stay. I think what we need to be aware is that some of those areas can be led by technology, but people support it. Like if you take a booking phase or the pre-arrival phase, technology can automate everything, can by data recognize like what guests should we offer what at what pricing, but it needs the support from people to really go back to the first step and really like highlight the benefits, right? This one is something that a technology would probably not not be able to do is like really to go into the room types and know what the benefits are. So the technology will always need support from someone that is maintaining it. Yeah. But if you look now at on arrival, it's completely vice versa. It's people led, but technology can support it. If you can put the best technology to a front office agent, if he or she is not trained and doesn't know how to communicate with the guests, how to identify the needs of the guests, then the best technology won't solve anything. It won't give you any better results, right? So that's why I see training as a very important component, especially when you're talking about on arrival. That's the entire stuff is trained, but the technology, of course, supports it.
Yeah, and we've all been to a restaurant where the waiter or waitress has been super friendly and super nice, and they've developed rapport with the table, and you end up buying dessert not because you want it, but because you like the person and they described it so well and they did such a good job. So, there is definitely a people element to this that can make a big difference. If you don't mind me asking, what sort of split do you see in your business in Upsell Guru between pre-arrival upselling and front desk upselling, just roughly as a percentage? Is it half of it's done through pre-arrival and half of it's done on arrival? What's the split?
You mean by split, you mean like revenue, like where most revenue is generated, or?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So what we see is that both really go hand in hand, right? Because the benefits of having both is that, and this is something that our platform supports, is that the front office agent has the data and information on what has happened in the pre-arrival phase, right? With that information, it's easier for them to upsell, and also data can support in the way of, is it a high opportunity? So have we recognized that this guest is really interested in an upsell? Or is it maybe low opportunity and probably like that guest we shouldn't even offer anything, because we know that the chances are quite low, right? So I think it goes really hand in hand, but overall we see that on arrival, if there is a proper incentive plan in place, if training has been conducted, that on arrival is approximately 4 to 5 times higher in revenue than in the pre-arrival.
Wow.
One of the main reasons is that on the pre-arrival, you are very much dependent on, do you have the customer data, right? And unfortunately, there are a lot of channels where we don't have the customer data, but on arrival, if you have a reception, then basically every 100% of the guests are stopping by. But yeah, as I mentioned, like when we go and we just first implement on arrival and go with pre-arrival at the stage, we see that after the implementation of pre-arrival, also on arrival increases massively, right? And the main reason is really like the billboard effect. Like the customer is already aware of the offering, maybe still have 2-3 questions, don't want to do it in the pre-arrival phase, but they are already aware of it. So, and this massively supports the front office team. So we see it really that it's not either pre or on arrival or in stay. It's really the combination of everything.
Yeah. That's a staggering number, about 4 or 5 times at front desk, because I think there's some people that I've certainly spoken to kind of put in an upselling tool pre-arrival, or even do their own through their CRM and just forget about it and leave it at that, and forget that there's such a big opportunity on arrival, even if you're using a kiosk, I guess, right?
Yeah, what you see is something that we also are confronted a lot of times when we speak with hotels. They tell us, we already have an upsell strategy, right? But then it's like, okay, can you tell me how is it performing, right? Oh, we don't know actually. Are you happy with it? Or I can't even tell, what have you generated yesterday? I don't know, right? So they don't have visibility. There is some sort of upselling, but it's not part of their core business.
Yeah.
And I think this is one mistake that a lot of hotels are doing, is that maybe the revenue manager is aware and is maintaining a pre-arrival system, but the rest of the hotel is not, right? So if you want to be successful, it's really key that it basically goes through various departments. And this is also something with our own training concept that we take very serious, or want to support the hotels, is that we not only go with the front office agents, but it's basically with the entire hotel team. Like, it starts with the GM. It takes like all the executive team, department heads, right? It's crucial for human resources department or financial department to know that there is an upsell strategy in place. It's important for the housekeeper to know it and to establish a strategy behind it, and also to support it.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because elite revenue management is all about the soft skills. And I think this is a big gap. And in a time where AI is advancing so quickly, and you'd have to look at revenue management as a function that could eventually be a lot of the tasks could be taken by AI, because they are very structured. This is a task that's not. It's soft skills, right? It's about collaboration. It's about culture building. It's about, as you say, getting buy-in from all the departments, including housekeeping. If you have a late check-in and early check-in, they need to know that process and how to manage that. The worst thing about a late checkout is someone knocking on your door every 10 minutes saying, "Are you out of the room yet?" So yeah, I guess you focus on that aspect in your training.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have basically like training for the executive teams on how to implement it, not only for the front desk but across all departments. One example you mentioned is with the housekeeping. One other thing is like, okay, how can you probably, like, housekeeping should have a strategy to clean like premium rooms first, so that they can be upsold. You can bundle it, right? Like an early check-in with a premium room, for example. There is like the financial team needs to be aware, like, what is the incentive plan? How do I reconcile so that I only pay incentive to the team for an upsell that has really been paid off, and the guests really stayed in. So all of that is crucial to implement a full strategy, and this is something that we really focus on to really engage like the entire staff, and not only, for example, the front office team.
This segues, I guess, again into the last point on your 4-step plan, which is to measure and adapt. And I can only speak from my experience at Village Hotels, and it was at the time before I left, it was close to £750,000, and a lot of it was without cost. So a lot of that was straight to the bottom line on under 30 hotels. So there is a huge profit uplift from this. But your 4th step is measure and adapt. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So it's basically like the topic of visibility, right? You need to have visibility on the performance to know is it successful or not, and you want all of that within one single platform. So you don't want to have a partner for the pre-arrival, one partner maybe supporting you with one arrival, and you have a third partner for in-arrival, because that's going to be hard for you to measure your overall upsell strategy, right? So for us, it's like critical to have that visibility within one platform to really know, is it running successful or not? If not, then what do we need to get to become successful in upselling? And this one you can only do by by having visibility into the performance, and also like defining like very clear goals to the teams, to then see, okay, how far we are away from the goals, right? Like everyone likes to work towards goals, and if you achieve them, also then okay, how do we give recognition to the team that they achieve the goals?
Yeah. So we've gone through the 4-step plan. I'm interested to know how long it takes to implement. I know this is going to vary by PMS, because there's very much a role that they have to play. But let's assume somebody is on an open API cloud-based PMS like a Muse or a Cloudbeds or something like that. What is the start to live process for getting a 360-degree upselling strategy off the ground?
Yeah, you mentioned already one very critical component of it, which is the PMS. So of course, with like the ones that you mentioned, like integration, like to create an integrated environment is within one click basically. So that's done. What we usually like to do is to really kick off with the pre-arrival, with a PMS, as you mentioned, for us, and assuming that the hotel has all the data like pictures and so on. It's a matter of really like a couple of days.
See, I think a lot of people
Yeah.
might think that would be weeks or months, but we're talking a couple of days.
Yeah, if everything is available, like pictures and so on, then we are really talking about a couple of days. And then once the pre-arrival is running, like to on arrival is a bit more complex because it needs to be planned in advance, right? Like you need to schedule a trainer to go to the hotel. You also need to make sure that the key stakeholder of the hotel are present during that. In average, a training is about 2 to 3 days, depending on the size of the hotel. And after the training has been conducted, basically the team starts right away to like after the trainer leaves, like the upsell strategy for on arrival is implemented. But what is important afterwards is like the entire like follow-ups, to always like always see like how are the results, how can it be improved, and to really stay in touch with the team, also to know like are they having any difficulties. Maybe some of the agents are still not feeling comfortable, so yeah, it's an ongoing process.
Yeah, I mean, technology is a quick implement, but culture is something you've got to build over time, and then you got to water it and fertilize it and look after it to keep it alive. So that makes sense. Hey, listen, that's been really, really helpful, and I think a really simple 4-step plan, which we'll put into a PDF or put into some notes so everyone's got that. If someone wants to reach out, how do they get in touch?
If they want to reach out, obviously, like always, feel free to connect with me on, for example, LinkedIn. We have our email, which is sales@upsellguru.com. And then if you're interested and you want to know more about like even just like your upsell potential, one of our sales team can happily do that analysis together with the hotel, and then really tell them like this is the upsell potential that we see for the hotel, and then also to see, okay, is it worth, or can we be a valuable partner to support them or not?
Yeah. And is there anything else we haven't talked about today that you think is important for anyone to know?
There is a lot we haven't talked about today that is important. But I guess we won't cover it in the short time. Like I'm very passionate about upselling, could talk about that for hours and days. But I think like the 4-step plan that we discussed, like first, like define the upsell items, focus on the benefits, take the entire guest journey, think about technology and people, training component, and have something that adds visibility to all of it. Like that's a good start to set the criteria, and then it's okay. Then the question is about selecting the right partner to support the hotels.
All right. Well, in true postman fashion, you have delivered once again, and I really appreciate you coming on the program, man. Really, it's been fun talking to you.
It was nice speaking to you too, and thanks for having me. Very, very hard to be invited after Nigel, as he set the bar quite high, I assume.
Of course. Awesome. All right. Thank you, mate.